And the three things that I've heard people, say about you is that, number one, you have a radical muscle, and you have the diplomacy to effect changes. And at the sports docket, you also have the goodwill, political goodwill from His Excellency the President. And so my next question would be around the federations, because when you took charge at the sports docket, one of the things you promised to do, in fact, somebody reminded me that you read the Riot Act to the federations. So how much ground, because this is 1 year on, do you think your ministry has covered in dealing with the non-compliant federations? Because you have identified where the pain point is. So going forward, what would you tell the country are the things that you have sort of worked on to deal with those who are in conflict with the law, those who are sabotaging the sport, etc., the federations?
Let me tell you, the reality of life, if you are a sailor and you board a badly leaking vessel, a badly leaking ship, your first task is not look for the compass, because your first task is not to determine which direction. Your first task is to rescue the vessel. You have to first of all find out where is the leak, seal the leak, rescue the ship, steady the boat. Then after you have steadied the boat and you have stopped the leaking, then you can start looking for the compass. You can start asking, hey, where was the compass? Where was the map? Now, which direction? That is exactly the situation we found ourselves in when we took this ministry about a year ago. We found a sporting scene in a total mess. Football frozen. Athletics threatened by an imminent ban. And World Athletics made it very clear to me that at the next council meeting of World Athletics, we are going to ban Kenya because doping has reached crisis levels. We found a scenario where athletes who had competed for this country like 10, 15 years ago had not been paid their allowances, their reward money. So you had a very dispirited group of athletes.
10, 15 years ago.
When we did the Hongera Awards last August, we were paying debts going back to 2010 to 2007. And it was like, how? How does an athlete compete and you just sit on their reward money and you sit on their allowances? So generally we found a space that was completely at the bottom. And as I've already said, corporate sponsors had taken off. Even live broadcasts. Kenyans had gotten accustomed to live broadcasts of football, for instance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Live broadcasters had taken off.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is the very dim situation we inherited.
Even the fans at the stadiums, they took off. They followed the corporates.
You know, last Tuesday, when Harambee Stars were playing South Sudan, everybody was shocked that there were actually so many fans at Kasarani on a Tuesday afternoon. Which tells you that even the Kenyan themselves were surprised that, so people can actually come to Sadia, because people had taken off. No one was interested in sports. And even the infrastructure. CAF had banned all Kenya Stadia from hosting any game. The first game to be hosted in Kenya since the ban on our stadia was the Kakamega Homeboys versus the Al Hilal Benghazi of Libya last month for the CAF Confederation Cup preliminary game. And so we come in, we find these boats leaking that badly. And so what we had to do was to stop the leaking, steady the ship. And I am very confident that we have done well. We convinced World Athletics not to ban Kenya, not by Mudomo, but by putting a solid plan on the table, backed by 3.7 billion shillings for an all-out war against doping. I sat down with Mr. Gianni Infantino, president of FIFA, and convinced him that Kenya needs to get back into the fold of international football.
How difficult was that?
It was not easy. It was certainly not easy. It took diplomacy, it took cajoling, it took commitments here and there, it took give and take, okay, quid pro quo, okay, but ultimately we were able to fix that space. Today we have a master plan for infrastructure which will be rolling out tomorrow. We have a big ceremony tomorrow to unveil the master plan for sports and arts infrastructure. Today we are even talking about Kenya bidding to host the Africa Cup of Nations.
Yeah.
Which really tells you that in a record 10, 12 months, we've been able to stop the leaking. Now, we are resetting the compass. And order number one on resetting that compass, federations.
Federations.
That's why the other day I told the Football Federation, because that's where we have had the most difficult situation. I have told the Kenya Football Federation that elections are due next year. Let us prepare for these elections so that we can have very orderly elections. We can have free, fair, credible elections. I have told FIFA, the government of Kenya wants to work with you as the world governing body so that we can manage this process very, very effectively. That is in sync. We can have elections that are in sync with Kenyan law, but they are also in sync with the FIFA statutes. So that the government is satisfied, FIFA is satisfied, and the federation is stable and strong.